Hello everyone, my name is Victoria. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you an unhaul video. I have 40 books here that I am removing from my collection. So I have a lot of books. I think we all know this. I think we can see that. And I was relatively happy with my collection, but running out of space. I have all my unread books on a different bookshelf over that way, and that is double stacked and overflowing, but I don't really mind because that is a temporary location for those books. There is no way they will all fit on my read shelves behind me. No way. At least now I can fit more of them. I don't have the space in this room to get another bookshelf, so I just kind of gotta work with what I got. And so that means every now and then I have to go through my bookshelves and get rid of some. These could be books that I didn't really enjoy when I read them, books that I liked well enough but don't plan on ever revisiting, or books that I loved but just have no real strong attachment towards. Honestly, I can't really figure out what it is that makes me want to keep a book compared to what it is that makes me want to get rid of a book. Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes I couldn't explain myself even if I tried. Needless to say, these are not books that I don't like. For the most part. There are definitely some in here that I didn't enjoy, and I will tell you that when I get to them, but just because I'm getting rid of a book does not mean I think it is a bad book. It means I can't fit it on my bookshelf anymore. So I have 40 books exactly, if my counting is correct. I have read every single one of them, so before you all jump on your high horses telling me I'm wasting my money, technically no, because they fulfilled their intended purpose of being read, and even if I hadn't read them, that's my business, but I have read all of these. Without further blabbering on, because really all we care about is the books, we're gonna jump into it. So the first book I have here to get rid of is Girl, Serpent, Thorne by Melissa Bashadust. I read this, was it last year? The year before? And it was okay. I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. I don't really have any desire to read any further from Melissa Bashadust. It just didn't really mesh well with me. I don't know what it was about it, but I don't know. I had higher expectations. It has a stunning cover though. This is a recurring theme in this books that I probably kept for longer than I should have because I think they're pretty. Next I have 5 to 1 by Holly Bodger. This is actually a relatively interesting book. I'm not gonna go into what these are all about. I liked this. Again, I wanted it to do a little bit more. It had a very interesting narrative style, but I'm never gonna revisit it. I read it, I enjoyed it, I got from it whatever I'm gonna get from it, and now it can move on to someone else who will potentially enjoy this. Next up is a book that I don't like the more I think about it. Union Bell by Deborah Challoner. I think this was the last book I read last year, and at the time I think I gave it like a 3 stars, but I've definitely dropped that rating to a 2. This book, I don't like this book. This book has a cheating subplot and tries to make you feel like it's okay when it's really not, and so that really bothered me, which is annoying because it's a historical fiction novel set in New Zealand, and I'm from New Zealand, I live in New Zealand, so that aspect of it was really fascinating, and then it was just ruined with this morally wrong set of choices, and it makes me angry, so I'm removing it from my life. The next 9 books that I'm getting rid of may come as a bit of a surprise. They are almost all of my Roald Dahl books. I kept 4. James and the Giant Peach, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, The Witches, and Matilda. Everything else I'm getting rid of. I just will not pick these up ever again. Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator, very strange. Pretty disappointing as a sequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I must admit. The Magic Finger is alright, pretty forgettable. I honestly don't remember what happens. Fantastic Mr. Fox, Danny the Champion of the World, The Twits, George's Marvelous Medicine, The BFG, The Giraffe and the Pally and Me, and SEO Trot, which is tortoise backwards if you ever need to know how to spell tortoise. I'm never gonna pick up any of those ever again. I kept the ones that I thought I might reread. I bought a boxed set of all the Roald Dahl books like 3 or 4 years ago because it occurred to me that I hadn't read all of the Roald Dahl books and I wanted to fix that, and so I did, but now I don't need them. So those ones will most likely end up in my sister's house. She has 3 kids. They will enjoy these books more than I will. Next up is is Blended by Sharon M. Draper. I read this book in January and I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it and I do not see myself picking it back up, and I would much rather put it back out into the world for someone else to find and read, potentially a younger person who might get a lot out of this. Beyond by Katina Havelock and Angela Larkin. I bought and read this book back when Midnight Sun came out because I went through a random YA paranormal phase where I just wanted to read like older YA paranormal books. This one is about a ghost. I enjoyed it. I did actually enjoy it and may potentially continue on in the series at some point, but if I do, it'll be by ebook. I have no real need to keep this book. It's a very awkward size, like it's very tall and very skinny. The next book I have here is another one I read very recently, The Love That Split the World by Emily Henry. When did I read this? I think I read this in February when I was reading all the pink books. If you watched my wrap up that month, you know this was quite disappointing to me. I ended up giving it a 2 stars. I've only given 2 books 2 stars this whole year, and that hurts me a little bit because I've loved every other Emily Henry book that I've engaged with. I don't know why this one just didn't click with me and I don't want it anymore. Someone else can find this and love it more than I did. Next up I have Everywhere Everything Everyone by Katie Warner. It's an interesting book. It has some really interesting concepts in it. It is by an Australian author and I did like it. I'm just never gonna pick it up again. It did get a bit convoluted and a bit weird towards the end. The author wanted too many things to happen and didn't give themselves the space to make it fully fleshed out. Like, it's quite a short book. I did enjoy it, I'm glad I read it, but I don't need it anymore. How many times do you think you're gonna hear that in this video? The next one might make you angry. I would like to reiterate, I loved this book when I read it. I'm pretty sure I gave it a 5 stars, but it is depressing. This book makes me sad, and every time I see it on my shelves it just kind of bums me out a little bit, and that is Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. I think this book has an incredibly important story and important messages in it. I really enjoyed it and I would highly recommend reading it. That doesn't mean I want to own it myself. And it's weird because I did really enjoy this book, so for all intents and purposes I should want to keep it, but I don't. I'm sorry, Tiffany D. Jackson. I love this book. I highly recommend it to all of you. I just don't want to own this physical copy myself anymore. If I ever want to reread it, I will purchase an ebook copy and give Tiffany D. Jackson more of my money. I don't mind that. Someone else can find this really, really well kept hardcover and be very excited to own this book and read it and love it, because I'm sure they will. It's just, it doesn't belong in my library anymore. The next 3 books I went back and forth on a few times before ultimately deciding no, I should just get rid of them. The Shatter Me Trilogy by Tahira Mafi, or the first 3 books in the Shatter Me series. I have read all 6 books in this series and I have already gotten rid of the last 3. I did that months ago. These I kept because they do work as a trilogy, and it was really the last 2 of the 6 that just completely jumped the shark. But I'm never gonna pick these up again. There are elements of these that I do really like. I just don't need it. And like, a part of me wants to keep them because I do like the characters and it does make me feel nostalgic, you know, looking at these books and flicking through them, but ultimately it's taking up a lot of space on my shelves that could be used for something that I like more. So we're getting rid of Shatter Me, Unravel Me, and Ignite Me. Then I have the start of another series. I have the first 2 books in the Nightmareverse by L.L. McKinney, A Blade So Black and A Dream So Dark. This is a like urban Alice in Wonderland retelling, and I did enjoy these books. The writing style is really weird to me. I just can't connect with the characters very easily through it. It's written in slang, which doesn't usually bother me. I've read quite a few books written in slang in my time and I always actually really enjoy it. I find it an interesting element of novels, but in this series for some reason it just really wasn't working for me. But I did enjoy these. As I was going through these books, I realized I hardly remember what happened in this series, specifically the second book. I think these covers are absolutely gorgeous. They are some of my favorite cover designs of a YA series. I'm sad because I think these are gorgeous, but realistically I don't particularly want to read the rest of the series, the third book. I've pretty much lost interest. I will also be getting rid of the Fillin Boyfriend by Casey West. This was just a fun YA contemporary romance about a fake dating situation. It was cute. I'm never gonna revisit it. I don't really plan on reading any more Casey West, so I don't really feel the need to keep it. The next book is a controversial book in general, which is really why I'm getting rid of it, and that is American Dirt by Janine Cummins. Is that how you say that? I don't know. I read this book back when it first came out, and I actually really liked it. And then I read the reviews, and I found out just how much people do not appreciate this book, how many people feel hurt by this book and its representation of Mexican people and Mexico as a country, and the way it depicts the story of illegal immigration from Mexico into the United States. People take a lot of issue with this book telling that story, as the author has not had that experience. I'm not gonna dive into my views on the situation because I also have not had that experience, so I don't really feel like my opinion matters that much. In the grand discourse of everything, I am not the person who can say whether it's okay or not. I enjoyed the book when I read it, but I read it pre-hearing about all of the controversies and the ways people are offended by this, and so I just kind of want to let it go. The next book I'm getting rid of is The Edge of Never by J.A. Redemirsky. I have had this book for a stupidly long time. This was one of the first new adult romances I read, and it is so bad. I've kept it because I kind of have fond memories of it, but it is not good. It's not well written. The relationship is problematic at best. There is no real development. A lot of what happened felt very unrealistic. I don't know. This book is weird. I don't know. I'm never gonna reread this. I never talk about it. I never even think about it unless it's in front of me. So I don't know why I own it. And next up, Life and Death by Stephanie Meyer. This is Twilight reimagined. This was the gender bent version of Twilight that she released on the 10th anniversary of Twilight, which everyone thought she was gonna release Midnight Sun and got mad because she didn't release Midnight Sun, but it's okay because now she has. I don't know. So this is gender swapped and also has a different ending. I have owned this book in 2 different editions now. This edition and the original copy I had of it was the big hardcover that if you flipped it around it was Twilight, flipped it the other way it was this. What a dumb design for a book. I don't know. I got rid of my original copy and then I purchased this back when Midnight Sun came out and I was having my paranormal romance midlife crisis. I decided I needed to own it desperately and I did not. I haven't reread it. I don't think I will reread it. And if I do, I can buy an ebook copy because I definitely don't need a physical copy of this. Also, the things that were changed to try and gender swap it really just point out how gender normative Stephanie Meyer is. Not to point any fingers, but yikes. Next, I have Always Forever Maybe by Anika Mrose Rissi. This is a YA contemporary. I mean, I guess technically it's a romance, but it's about an abusive relationship, so I wouldn't say it's particularly romantic. I read this, I enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite book I've ever read on the subject. I would recommend Bad Romance by Heather Demetrios over this. This was okay. It's a very pretty cover, very short book. I don't know, it wasn't really anything special. I don't feel particularly connected to it or like I need to have it, so I'm gonna get rid of it, but it's pretty. Next up, I have the Carve the Mark duology by Veronica Roth. So we have Carve the Mark and The Fates Divide. I really enjoyed Carve the Mark when I first read it, and then I heard a lot of controversy surrounding it. People said it was racist. Again, I don't really have an opinion on that. I'm just some random white girl. I don't think my opinion is the one that matters. But I did continue on and read the sequel, and this was really disappointing compared to this one. I vastly preferred this one. I kind of found this a little bit boring, and I'm never going to pick these back up again, so I'm going to get rid of them. Next up, I have The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg. This book I read pretty recently. I think I only read it last year, and I did enjoy it. Not my favorite thing. It had some very interesting commentary on like how people treat people and also artificial intelligence, but like this isn't a very real concept of artificial intelligence. Kind of ruined my love of artificial intelligence in YA books by taking a communications paper that has really just destroyed all notions of artificial intelligence actually having feelings. It's fine. I can normally suspend my disbelief in a YA book, and I could when I read this. I did enjoy this. I just don't see myself ever picking it up. Yeah, I don't need this. Next up I have a trilogy that I didn't really want to get rid of, but I also will never reread, will never revisit, was only keeping because I thought they were pretty. The Shiva Trilogy by Maggie Stiefvater. So we have Shiva, Linger, and Forever. These books are cool because they're printed in ink that correlates to the covers. Like Forever is printed in red, Linger is printed in green, and Shiva is printed in blue. But I don't need these. I liked them at the time. They're paranormal YA werewolf books. I read them when I was 16. I just don't need them. I have so many books. I don't need every single book that I kind of like, you know? Next up I have Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne. I'm pretty sure I read this last year. This is a new adult romance. I really liked The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This one in comparison was super mediocre. I have no desire to keep it. I'm not going to reread it. I read a lot of romance books, so I don't feel the need to keep the ones that are just okay. Then I have You've Reached Sam by Dustin Theo. I don't actually know how to say that. I read this last year and I liked it, but I didn't love it as much as I was hoping to. I have seen so many people absolutely love this book, and I'm not one of them. Hopefully whoever ends up with this does really love it. I can imagine I would have loved it so much more in the past. Just where I'm at now in my reading life, this isn't it for me anymore, but this cover is gorgeous. It's like one of the prettiest covers ever, but I'm not keeping it. Uninvited by Sophie Jordan. I read this in 2020. This is interesting. It has some interesting commentary. I did enjoy it. It does have a sequel that I'm never gonna read. I don't feel the need to keep this anymore. It was fun. I'm glad I read it, but I just don't need it. Then I have The Immortal Rules by Julie Kagawa. This is the first book in a vampire series. I had the weirdest experience when I read this. Like the whole last chunk of it, I swear I've read before, but I've only read this book once. So I was very confused, but I did enjoy it. I do like Julie Kagawa's writing. I've also read the Iron Fae series. I don't know, I'm just not excited about this series anymore. I don't know if I'll continue on with it. I don't need it. Do I need anything? Because I'm starting to wonder. Now these last three, I almost didn't want to unhaul, but then I wanted this to be a round number, so I wanted 40 books, and I was almost there. In my initial pass through all my books, I didn't pick these out, and then I was like, actually no, I don't need these. Even though I kind of want them. Like, I don't. It's the Chaos Walking trilogy by Patrick Ness. So, The Knife of Never Letting Go, The Ask and the Answer, and Monsters of Men. These are the 10th anniversary editions. This series came out in 2008. I remember really loving this one, and then the series just got progressively weirder and weirder. And then I unhauled my original copies, and then I regretted it ever since and really wanted to own them again. Finally picked these up like maybe last year, maybe the year before, and now I'm unhauling them again, and I'm just scared I'm gonna regret it again. A part of me kind of wants to reread the first one and then watch the movie because Tom Holland's in the movie. I know for certain I'm not gonna reread these two. If I really want to read one of them in the future, I can get the ebook. I have an e-reader. I don't have to own physical copies of everything all the time. So that's everything that I'm unhauling. All 40 books. I'm sorry if I'm getting rid of something that you really love. I like most of these. I just don't need to own them anymore. And you're allowed to like things that I don't like as well. You know, we're not the same people. I know I myself love watching unhaul videos, so I figured some of you out there might also like watching them. Sorry this wasn't the most uplifting of videos, but I feel better now that I have so much more space on my bookshelves. That's it for today's video, I suppose. Leave a like if you enjoyed this, and subscribe if you want to see more from me. I do post every week, so there's more coming, more bookish content coming your way. Leave any comments down below if you really think I should keep any of these, or if you have similar feelings to me, or just, you know, to say hi. I hope to see you guys next time in a new video. Bye.